We've just been talking about how the EIT went from concept to global impact in that speech. We're now going to be looking back really at the last 10 years of the EIT. And to do that, I'm going to invite on stage the moderator of this session, Mrs. Themis Christophidou. I've been practicing her name. And she's the Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture at the European Commission. Please join us on stage. She's going to introduce the panel and lead us through this debate for the next half an hour or so. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have been assigned a quite tricky task because I was given 30 minutes to run a panel, and I think we have less than 20 left, so it's going to be a challenge. Therefore, I will skip my introduction and I will go directly into inviting our distinguished panelists. It's more important that we listen from them. We want to reflect on how the EIT was created, why it was created, what were the shortcomings that it was supposed to address, how it has evolved over these 10 years, and how it should and can evolve better to address the challenges that are ever changing. So, I start with Commissioner Tibor Navracsics. Commissioner, please join us. Commissioner in charge of Education, Youth, Culture and Sport. And also Commissioner responsible for the EIT in the European Commission. He has been providing his political steer for the EIT in the last 4 years. The chairman said already that he's the biggest supporter of the EIT in the EU institutions, in the European Commission, and he's going to give us his experience and his vision for the EIT in a few seconds. I would also want to invite our host, Dr. László György, Secretary of State for Economic Strategy and Regulation in the Ministry for Innovation and Technology. As we heard already from the chairman, Hungary very generously, but also proudly, I think, is hosting the EIT. It's great to be here. It's your beautiful country, your beautiful capital, and the weather has made it a fantastic day. I would like to welcome Swati Pandey, the co-founder and CEO of Arboreal Innovations. This is a biotechnology food products venture specialized in stevia. I think we all know what stevia is. She's an alumna of the EIT community. For many years has been an active member of the Climate Kick. And she has been selected as the 2018 Asia Pacific Laureate for the Cartier Women's Initiative Awards. So we are very proud to have you with us. Linnar, Viik, the co-founder of Viik Governance Academy, a think tank and non-profit consultancy which helps government to increase the efficiency of governance and of the democratic process. He is a former executive of several successful undertakings, including Skype, and he has been a member of the EIT governing board from its creation until 2014. Thank you for being with us. And last but not least, the representative of the people, Lambert van Nistelrooij, member of the European Parliament. Since 2004, has accompanied the EIT since its conception. He's a very prominent member of the Regional Policy Committee. He's a man that works for more and better cohesion of the European regions and cities. Very happy to have you with us. Now, let's start. Commissioner, is the EIT unique?
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I think it's unique, not only because it's located in Budapest, and that's the only EU institution which is located in Budapest, but I think that's the best safeguard that innovation and the EIT will be at the heart of the European integration, because Budapest is in the heart of Europe. We are in the center of the heart of Europe. So that means that innovation will be in the center of the heart of the Europe. That means that innovation will be in the forefront of the European integration future policies as well. But I think the business model and the institutional structure of the EIT and the principal mission itself is a unique one, because it just caught the moment 10 years ago and designed a kind of institution, a bunch of networks, basically, because it's only the administrative headquarters which is here in Budapest, and the EIT and all these branches and links to other activities can be found all over Europe. I think 10 years ago it was really a revolutionary moment and a revolutionary scheme. And I think it's quite successful to bring together business, research, and education. We can see a lot of good examples, and we will see it this afternoon. I think it's a unique mission, and I hope that in the very near future there will be a unique success of the EIT. We are working on very hard on that with Martin Kern and all other friends, stakeholders, and of course the European Parliament. And I think that the result will come very soon.
Thank you, Commissioner. Linnar, how come you got involved with the EIT at those early stages?
For me, it was very much about curiosity. It was, once again, let's put it back to the 2008. It was recession, and innovating out of recession was, I think, Jose Manuel Barroso's very strong leitmotif, and the overall concept of KICS, to put it in work, to put together something which nobody has ever put to the innovation landscape on cross-country, European broad scale. It was a curious but also challenging exercise for me. At that time, 2008, I was heading a product team at the European exemplary startup, which was Skype at that time. Everybody said, let's make more Skypes, let's make more Skypes. But it was very much about recognizing and understanding how the ecosystem could be created, where not the 1 or 2 or 3 single Skypes could be recreated, but it's about the entrepreneurial mindset that could be spread all around Europe. Very important was at that time also the understanding that there is no kind of one institute, one place where the funding is distributed based on the applications. It was bottom-up, it was network, it was hubs, so it was very challenging actually to think about the governance model of that process. And I think finally, when we were sitting with our first governing board around the table and looking at, we have 300 million euros, to which majority of industry was laughing. Are you really going to change something in the innovation landscape with 300 million euros? You must be nuts. And you are not funding our projects entirely, but you maximum fund only 25%, when all the other institutions and national schemes give you 90% of the funding. And that was challenging. And this is the greatest experience now to recognize how much also national innovation strategies are trying to cope and copy the KIC model and the funding schemes where industry and other players are participating in the joint effort.
Minister, as a proud host, your country is clearly a big performer, a big participant in the EIT community. Now, your neighbors might say, yeah, but this is because they're the hosts of the EIT, that's why. But it cannot only be that. So what else is it?
First of all, I'm a little bit, am I turned on? No? I turn it on. Turn it on. Is it okay now? No? Yeah. Okay, now it's good, no? Is it working? Now? Okay. I feel double puzzled because my microphone was not working. And the other thing is, You all say that how grateful you are that we host EIT. Actually, we are grateful to let us host EIT, and we are all grateful to all of those who worked on that EIT is here, and we are devoted to be a good host in the future as well. And the question is good. The question what I got in advance is not as good. Your question was excellent because I believe that EIT is not only important for Budapest and Hungary, but for our whole region. I hear that the atmosphere is very festive here, and I got used to talking about challenges and some kind of answers, and I believe that one of the greatest challenges Europe is facing now, European Union is facing now, is competitiveness. I was in Brussels last week. We talked about Horizon Europe program planning, and I believe that the direction that we increase the amount spent on innovation is good. The direction what we spend on spreading excellence or participating, widening excellence is also good, but we should put a 0 after 2. We said that we want to spend, instead of 1%, 2% on widening participation, widening excellence. We should put 20% in that envelope, because we can increase the competitiveness of the European Union if we increase the excellent capacities in the EU 13 countries. And I believe that EIT can play a very important role in that, because if you look at Horizon 2020 projects and the EP7 programs, then the EU 13 countries benefited only 5 percentage points of these funds. If it remains so in the future and we only base our competitiveness on the vertical integration of Western Europe and Eastern Europe, then we will lose this this competition with other world regions. So what we have to do is learn how others in Western Europe are excellent. And EIT is an excellent tool for us to learn how Western Europe and developed Europe is excellent in research and innovation. And through these knowledge and innovation communities, I believe that EU 13 countries can benefit from it.
Thank you, Minister. Swati, women innovators, they are underrepresented in the EIT awards, and they're underrepresented in the EU as a whole. The situation is, of course, improving, but clearly there's an issue of mindset, there is an issue of cultural barriers, so there's still a lot to be done. But you made it, so what could you advise young women that have the potential but are hesitating to go for it like you did?
Right. I've been really privileged to, have the kind of platforms that I got through the EIT. I was one of the early Climate Kick scholars. I attended the Climate Kick journey, and it was really a transformational experience for me. And I do consider, the journey and the EIT as one of the key events in the evolutionary journey of my company. And to the aspiring entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, I would just say that, a lot of apprehensions that we have, with starting up, they are only in our minds. And you'll be really surprised to see when you actually start up, you'll be really surprised to see the kind of support you get from all angles. I mean, not just the investors, but, communities and institutes like EITs, the professors, the mentors. It's incredible. I always say that, the challenges are definitely there. I mean, we probably have to work harder than men to succeed. But then things are changing very fast. And I think the first step that we need to take from our end is to start. That's the most difficult step. And when you do that, you will be very happy and surprised to see that there is so much support available from all angles.
So, are we motivated? Yes. Lambert. 10 years, this child has become 10, you have accompanied it all the way. Tell us.
I think when we started with the first ideas, I remember that Barroso came in with his idea. In fact, he wanted to cope the MIT, United States, fundamental science and worldwide appreciation. And then he came, and wow, European Council, the country said no, because Europe should not get this high standard new institution. Then the Parliament came. The Parliament says, yes, we want to have it, but more in an innovative take up of the knowledge. In that way, and I could add the word European Institution for Technology, Barroso proposal. I could end innovation, and there we got it. We got it legally accepted by the member states. This was a fight. Second period. First period was with 400 million. Second period, 2.5 billion. This, you can see it. And then we also introduced these co-locations, many of them throughout Europe, now 40. But also the KICs, you know, the teams, as said by Dirk Jan, but also the possibility to join, to come in from other regions, the regional innovation scheme, and money for that. So that was the second period, and now the third. In the third period now, we look forward and can see that innovation is everywhere. Because this is Europe's competitiveness in the world. But how to do it, we have on one side a big proposal of the Commission to come forward with the European Innovation Council. I can say, looking to what you deliver here in all those startups, all those scale-ups, etc., universities, ecosystems, in fact, you are the main tool. It's not always disruption. It's a question of finding your position in ecosystems, of course connected, interdisciplinary, but also somewhere in a city or a region. Specializing, for instance, in bio-based economy, new materials. So my opinion is that there is a great future. Doing what the minister has just said, taking also on board the less developed regions in Europe. Population, a lot of population is going to the cities and to Western Europe. So there is a kind of a new challenge to keep Europe together, to keep Hungary in thinking, and not nationalism, but finding each other. You are, in fact, if you were not invented, we should invent you now.
We don't want to mess up the whole program. We will try to wrap up. Commissioner, more and more policymakers are discovering the power of education and training and how much it's needed for innovation. What can the EIT do about this? What is the added value it can bring?
Yes, that's one of my priorities in the near future, to reinforce or strengthen the education profile of EIT. I think everything is given to launch very strong cooperation in education, in STEM education especially, which can contribute to innovation, to competitiveness at European level, and which can bring together the experiences of not only the member states, but also the higher education institutions, but also the business community and the innovative activities to be a focus of STEM education and innovation in education at European level. So I think the EIT can have a big role in that in the near future. Of course, not neglecting with other aspects, with the innovation, the knowledge and innovation communities, but also KICs can be a quite obvious frameworks for those kind of education activities. We have some KICs which already do some education activities, for instance, the digital one. So we can broaden these activities in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, you heard our panelists. They have some messages for you, some lessons to take away. What are you going to keep out of this to move forward?
Well, actually, I'm taking a few conclusions out of this discussion. I think in the first place, it's very important to note that the Commission has clearly declared that the EIT will be at the center of European innovation policy, both physical, by, of course, staying here in Budapest, but also in Brussels when it comes to the conceptual design of European innovations policy, and we are very grateful for that. I think what the other remarks clearly have indicated, that this is a truly network exercise. It brings people together, it brings disciplines together, it turns it into a one-stop shop for innovation. This is where you can really have a chance to start up your idea, to turn it into a product and a service. And I think this has been clearly demonstrated by the remarks that just have been made. And thirdly, I think what I've heard about, making sure that this is a truly pan-European effort, and that means that other regions that are perhaps more modest, more moderate in their innovation performance need to be included in the program. And I consider that as a great encouragement for our regional innovation scheme, and we certainly will work on that. And I think the last remark, very important, the remarks on education. This is about preparing our younger generations for the future. This means that we have to emphasize the importance on STEM education, and I would like to add to that, we have to make sure that this is offered to our younger generations in a completely gender-neutral way, because we still live in an era, I don't know why, but somehow that STEM is for boys and the other things are for girls. And we need to overcome that, because we need all the brains we have in Europe, and that means brains of men and women.
Thank you, Chairman. If I'm allowed one personal comment, 40 years ago I went to study civil engineering. It was, of course, not easy at the time, especially from the part of the world where I come, which was a more traditional society. But 4 decades later, that we're still discussing about STEM for boys and the rest for girls, it amazes me. We have done something wrong. We have to fix it. Thank you all for your attention.